You can spend half of Saturday cleaning the house, stand back afterwards and think, finally, everything's done. Then Tuesday arrives. There are 2 mugs on the coffee table. Clothes have started collecting on. A chair, something is waiting on the stairs to be taken up, and the kitchen already feels as though it needs cleaning again. The obvious conclusion is that you need to clean more. But that may be the wrong problem. Often the exhausting part isn't cleaning itself. It's allowing lots of very small jobs to sit around until they all demand attention at the same time. That's the useful idea behind these Japanese-inspired cleaning habits. They're not about spending more of your day doing housework. They're about dealing with ordinary mess before it has time to become a project. Start with the smallest possible version of that idea. When something takes 10 seconds to clean, try not to turn it into tomorrow's job. A splash of sauce on the worktop is easy while it's fresh. So are crumbs beside the toaster water around the sink, or a toothpaste mark on the bathroom basin. Leave each one alone and nothing dramatic happens. That's precisely why they're easy to ignore. But 5 or 10 of those tiny jobs waiting together feel completely different. Now there's a kitchen to clean, a bathroom to sort out, surfaces to clear. The workload didn't appear all at once. It accumulated. So whenever a mess is genuinely quick to deal with, dealing with it early can stop it joining tomorrow's list. The kitchen is probably the clearest place to see this. After cooking, bring the area back to a usable state before you completely leave it. That doesn't mean deep cleaning the kitchen every time you make dinner. Wipe the obvious splashes from the hob and worktop. Put the oil back. Return the knife and chopping board. Deal with the pan if you reasonably can. There's an important difference between cleaning and resetting. Cleaning removes dirt. Resetting prepares the space to be used again. You can wipe every surface in a kitchen and still make tomorrow morning inconvenient if there are pans around the sink, shopping bags on the floor, and yesterday's post beside the kettle. A useful question is simply, if I walked into this room tomorrow morning, could I begin normally? That same idea can follow you around the rest of the house. Suppose you're leaving the sitting room and there's a mug that belongs in the kitchen. You're already going that way, so take it. Heading upstairs. Bring the jumper that's been sitting near the stairs, going back towards the bedroom. Take the book that belongs on the bedside table. This isn't an invitation to patrol the house looking for things to tidy. You were already making the journey. You're just completing one unfinished bit of movement along the way. Over a whole day, that can prevent quite a few objects from becoming permanent temporary residents. Another useful change is to look at where your cleaning tools live. We often organize them neatly in one cupboard because that seems sensible. But neat storage isn't always convenient storage. If you repeatedly need a cloth in the bathroom, but every cloth lives downstairs, even a tiny job has several extra steps attached to it. You notice the mirror. You think about the cupboard downstairs. And suddenly, "I'll do it later" sounds perfectly reasonable. Where it makes sense and is safe, keep simple cleaning tools near the places where you actually use them. You don't need a miniature cleaning department in every room. The point is simply to remove unnecessary steps from the small jobs that happen repeatedly. The floor deserves similar attention. A home doesn't need empty floors everywhere, but objects left on the floor create extra work whenever you vacuum, sweep, or mop. Shoes need moving. A bag gets shifted. A basket has to be lifted. Then everything gets put back. None of those actions is difficult, but they make the cleaning job longer before the cleaning has even begun. So, where possible, give frequently abandoned floor items an easier home. A hook for the bag. A clear place for shoes. A basket that isn't sitting in the route you need to clean. The goal isn't visual perfection, it's making ordinary movement and maintenance less awkward. Bathrooms have their own version of prevention. After a shower, use the extractor fan if one is fitted and functioning. If your bathroom relies on a window opening, it, when practical and safe, can also help remove excess moisture. What matters here is the sequence. You shower, then you ventilate. You don't wait until some future cleaning session to think about the moisture created by something you've just done. And that reveals a useful pattern for the whole house. Cook, then reset the cooking area. Shower, then ventilate. Finish using something, then return it. When one action naturally follows another, there's less need to keep deciding when you'll eventually get around to it. Rubbish benefits from the same kind of rhythm. A bin that's almost full invites negotiation. There's probably room for one more thing. Then another. Eventually, the bag is awkward, something smells unpleasant, or rubbish starts appearing beside the bin because nobody wants to deal with it. Instead of waiting for that point-tie rubbish and recycling to a predictable rhythm that fits your household and local collection arrangements. It might be the evening before collection day. It might be another regular point during the week. The schedule itself isn't the interesting part. The useful part is removing the repeated question, should I deal with this now? The evening sink is another small place where yesterday can easily spill into tomorrow. Imagine walking into the kitchen in the morning and immediately having to move dishes before you can fill the kettle or prepare breakfast. It's a tiny inconvenience, but it means the room is asking you to finish yesterday before you can begin today. An evening sink reset can be very modest. Deal with the obvious dishes. Rinse the sink, clear enough space around it for the next morning to work normally. You're not trying to create a showroom kitchen before bed. You're giving tomorrow a cleaner starting point. Then there are the little areas that never seem important enough to organize. One drawer, half a shelf, the bedside table, one section of the fridge, the basket near the front door. Ignore them for months, and eventually they become irritating enough to demand a full sorting session. Instead, work on one micro-zone, occasionally small enough that it doesn't become an event. Take one drawer. Remove something that clearly shouldn't be there. Group together the things you actually use. Make the object you reach for most often easier to reach. Then stop. This is where a Kaizen-style lens is helpful. Kaizen is usually associated with continuous improvement rather than dramatic one-off change. Applied loosely to a home, the useful question becomes, what tiny improvement would make this area easier to use tomorrow? Not, how do I completely transform this room? Just make one small thing work better. And finally give the house a few minutes to settle before the day ends. A 5-minute evening reset works precisely because it isn't supposed to finish every job. Take the mug back. Hang up the coat. Move the shoes. Return the cushions. Clear the few objects that have drifted onto the dining table. Put tomorrow's obvious obstacles back where they belong. Then stop. Some evenings you'll do more. Some evenings you won't. The point is to keep the ordinary disorder of one day from automatically becoming the starting condition of the next. And when you look at all 10 habits together, that's really what connects them. You're shortening the time between a small problem appearing and somebody quietly dealing with it. A mug doesn't become 4 mugs. A coat doesn't become a chair buried under clothes. One dirty pan doesn't become a sink you avoid looking at. One awkward drawer doesn't turn into an afternoon organizing project. Of course, homes still need proper cleaning, Floors get dirty, bathrooms need attention, kitchens need more than a quick wipe forever. These small habits don't eliminate that work. They do something more realistic. They stop quite so much ordinary mess from accumulating around it. And that may be the most useful way to borrow from a Japanese-inspired Kaizen-style approach to maintaining a home. There's no need to treat cleaning as a heroic weekend performance. Notice the small problem while it's still small. Make the response easy. Connect it to something you already do. Reset the room so the next use begins smoothly. Then get on with your day, because a home that feels consistently manageable usually isn't being cleaned all day. It simply isn't giving small problems very long to become big ones.